If you suspect someone is stealing from you and waiting for you to die, do you confront them or do you catch them in the act? Because what I did might sound extreme, but after what my daughter-in-law was doing behind my back, I needed everyone to see the truth with their own eyes. My name is Nanny. I'm 71 years old now, and this is the story of how I pretended to lose my mind to expose the woman who was systematically stealing from me, poisoning my family against me, and planning to throw me in a nursing home to get my house, and how I orchestrated the perfect trap that left everyone speechless. So my son Michael married Sandra about 15 years ago. I'll be honest, I never liked her from the start. There was something about her that felt off. She was sweet as pie to Michael, but I caught these looks she would give me when she thought nobody was watching. Cold looks, calculating looks. But Michael was head over heels in love, so I kept my mouth shut. I wasn't going to be that mother-in-law who interferes. I wanted my son to be happy. They got married, and everything seemed fine at first. Sandra was polite to me. She came to family dinners. She called me Mom, like I asked her to. She seemed to make Michael happy. They had 2 kids, my grandchildren, Emma and Jake. Beautiful kids. I love them with my whole heart. I thought maybe I had been wrong about Sandra. Maybe she was just nervous around me at first. Maybe I had misjudged her. My husband Robert passed away 8 years ago. Heart attack. One day he was here, the next day he was gone. It was the hardest thing I ever went through. We had been married for 42 years. He was my best friend, my rock. After he died, I felt lost. The house felt empty. Everything reminded me of him. Michael was wonderful during that time. He checked on me every day, helped me with things around the house, made sure I was eating. He's a good son. But Sandra started acting different after Robert died. She got more interested in my finances, started asking questions about the house, about Robert's life insurance, about his pension. At first, I thought she was just trying to help, trying to make sure I was taken care of. But the questions kept coming. How much was the house worth? Did I have a will? What were my plans for the future? It made me uncomfortable, but I tried to brush it off. Then, about 3 years ago, things started disappearing from my house. Small things at first. A silver picture frame that Robert gave me, some jewelry that had been my mother's, cash from my wallet. I thought maybe I was misplacing things. I'm in my late 60s, early 70s now. Maybe my memory wasn't what it used to be. But it kept happening. More things would go missing every time Sandra visited. I started paying closer attention. I noticed that things only disappeared when Sandra came over. When Michael visited alone, nothing went missing. When my daughter came over, nothing went missing. Only when Sandra was in my house. So I set up a little test. I left a $50 bill in an envelope on my kitchen counter and told Sandra I was going to the bathroom. When I came back, the envelope was empty. She had taken it right out of my house while I was in the next room. I was furious, but I didn't say anything. Not yet. I wanted to see how far this would go. So I started watching more carefully. I started noticing other things. Sandra would go through my mail when she thought I wasn't looking. She would open drawers and cabinets. She was snooping, looking for something. And I realized she was trying to figure out exactly how much money I had.
Then I started hearing things. My neighbor Phyllis told me that Sandra had been asking her questions about me, about whether I seemed confused lately, about whether I was forgetting things, about whether I needed help taking care of myself. Phyllis thought it was sweet that Sandra was concerned, but I knew better. Sandra was planting seeds, setting up a narrative that I was losing my mind. My friend from church, Betty, told me that Sandra had asked her the same kinds of questions. Was I repeating myself? Was I having trouble with basic tasks? Did I seem disoriented? Betty thought Sandra was just being a caring daughter-in-law, but I could see what was happening. Sandra was going around to everyone I knew, suggesting that I was declining mentally, building a case. Then I overheard a phone conversation that changed everything. Sandra didn't know I was home. She must have thought I was out at my doctor's appointment. I came back early and I heard her in my kitchen talking on her phone, and what I heard made my blood run cold. She was talking to someone, maybe a friend, about me. She said, "The old lady is loaded and she's sitting in that huge house all by herself." She said, "I just need to be patient a little longer." She said, "Once we get her declared incompetent, Michael will have power of attorney and we can put her in the cheapest nursing home we can find." She said that house has got to be worth at least $400,000, maybe more. She said, "I've already got my eye on a lake house we can buy with the money." I stood there in my own hallway, in the house I had lived in for 40 years, listening to my daughter-in-law plan to steal my life, my home, my independence, everything. And she was going to use my own son to do it. Michael had no idea what she was doing. He would never go along with this if he knew, but Sandra was manipulating him too, telling me I was declining, making him worry about me, setting it up so that when she suggested putting me in a home, he would think it was the caring thing to do. I was shaking with anger, but I stayed quiet. I waited until she left, and then I sat down and thought about what to do. I could confront her directly, but she would just deny it. She would say I misheard. She would tell Michael I was confused, which would just support her narrative that I was losing my mind. I could tell Michael what I heard, but would he believe me over his wife? She had been working on him for months, making him think I was declining. He might think I was paranoid or confused. No, I needed proof. I needed everyone to see exactly who Sandra was. I needed to catch her in the act in a way that she couldn't deny or explain away. So I came up with a plan that would require me to be a better actress than I ever thought possible. I decided to pretend I actually was losing my mind, to fake dementia, to let Sandra think her plan was working. And while she got more and more bold, thinking she was fooling everyone, I would be documenting everything, gathering evidence, building my case. And then when the time was right, I would reveal the truth in front of the entire family. So I started acting confused. Small things at first. I would forget names occasionally. I would ask Michael to repeat things. I would seem a bit scattered. Nothing too dramatic, just enough to be noticeable. And I watched Sandra's face light up every time I did it. She thought it was really happening. She thought I was actually declining. Then I escalated. I started forgetting conversations. I would ask the same question twice. I would seem confused about what day it was. I would put things in the wrong places. The milk in the cupboard, my glasses in the refrigerator. Things that seemed like genuine memory problems. And Sandra ate it up. She started pointing these things out to Michael. "Did you see your mom put the sugar in the refrigerator? Your mom asked me the same question 3 times today. I'm really worried about her." Michael started getting concerned. He would call me more often. He would come by to check on me. He was so sweet about it, so caring. It broke my heart to deceive him, but I had to. I had to let this play out so he could see the truth about his wife. I set up hidden cameras around my house, little ones that Sandra wouldn't notice, in the living room, in the kitchen, in my bedroom. I ordered them online and my daughter helped me install them without telling Michael. My daughter Susan knew something was wrong. She didn't believe I was actually declining because she talked to me on the phone every day and I was fine. So I told her what I was doing, and she was all for it. She never liked Sandra either. The cameras captured everything. They captured Sandra going through my drawers when she thought I was napping. They captured her taking money from my purse. They captured her going through my financial documents. They captured her on the phone talking about me, saying horrible things, calling me the old bat, saying she couldn't wait until I was out of the picture, talking about what furniture of mine she wanted to keep and what she would sell. I also started recording conversations. I got one of those digital recorders and I would keep it in my pocket. I recorded Sandra talking to Michael about me, saying I wasn't safe living alone, saying I needed professional care, saying it would be better for everyone if I was in a facility. And Michael, my sweet boy, was starting to believe her. He was starting to think that putting me in a home might be necessary. Sandra got bolder. She started taking bigger things. She took a necklace that was worth at least $2,000. She took some of Robert's old watches. She took cash directly from my wallet while I was sitting in the next room. She thought I was too far gone to notice. She thought she had won. She also started being meaner to me. When Michael wasn't around, she would talk to me like I was a child. She would say things like, "Come on, Mom, try to remember," in this condescending voice. She would roll her eyes at me. She would ignore me completely sometimes, and I had to just take it. I had to act like I didn't notice or didn't understand. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Then Sandra made her big move. She convinced Michael that we needed to have a family meeting. She said we needed to discuss Mom's care. She said we needed to make some decisions about my future. She wanted to do it at my house, she said, because it would be more comfortable for me. But I knew the real reason. She wanted to do it at my house so she could show everyone how I was declining in my own environment. Michael agreed. He called Susan and told her about the meeting. Susan called me immediately and we talked strategy. This was it. This was the moment I had been preparing for. We set a date 2 weeks away. That gave me time to get everything ready. During those 2 weeks, I acted worse than ever. I really played it up. I called Michael by my late husband's name. I asked what year it was. I wore mismatched clothes. I seemed confused about basic things. Sandra was practically gleeful. She thought she had me exactly where she wanted me. The night before the family meeting, Susan came over and we prepared everything. We made sure all the cameras were working. We organized all the recordings. We set up my laptop to connect to the TV so we could show everyone the evidence. We made copies of everything just in case. Susan also invited a few other people to the meeting without telling Michael or Sandra. She invited my sister Margaret. She invited my longtime friend Betty. She invited my neighbor Phyllis. She told them we were having a family meeting about my care and I wanted them there for support. The day of the meeting arrived. It was a Saturday afternoon. Everyone started showing up around 2 o'clock. Michael came with Sandra and the kids. Susan came with her husband. Margaret came. Betty came. Phyllis came. Sandra looked annoyed that there were extra people there, but she couldn't say anything without looking bad. We all sat in my living room, the same living room where I had raised my children, where I had celebrated birthdays and Christmases and anniversaries, where Robert and I had spent thousands of evenings watching TV and talking about our days. And now Sandra wanted to take it from me. Michael started the meeting. He looked so sad. He said, "We're all here because we love Mom and we're concerned about her." He said she's been having some memory issues and some confusion, and we think it might be time to consider other living arrangements. He looked at me with such love and concern. It broke my heart. Sandra jumped in immediately. She had clearly prepared for this. She started listing all my supposed symptoms, the repeated questions, the confusion, the items put in wrong places. She said, "I've been documenting everything, and it's clear that Mom can't safely live alone anymore." She said, "I've researched some wonderful facilities that specialize in memory care." She pulled out some brochures and started passing them around. Susan was watching me. We had planned this carefully. I gave her a tiny nod. She stood up and said, "Before we go any further, there's something everyone needs to see." Sandra looked irritated. "Susan, we're trying to have a serious conversation about your mother's care." Susan ignored her. She walked over to the TV and connected my laptop. "Mom has something she wants to show everyone." I stood up, and suddenly I wasn't confused anymore. My voice was clear and strong. "Yes, I do have something to show everyone, because I'm not losing my mind. I've been pretending." Michael looked shocked. "Mom, what are you talking about?" Sandra's face went pale. "She's confused, Michael. This is exactly what I was talking about. She's having delusions." I looked directly at Sandra. "I'm not confused, and I'm not having delusions. I know exactly what's been going on. For the past 3 years, you've been stealing from me. You've been going through my things. You've been poisoning everyone against me, making them think I'm losing my mind, and you've been planning to put me in a nursing home so you can steal my house." Sandra laughed nervously. "That's ridiculous. Michael, your mother is clearly not well. This is paranoid behavior."
I smiled. "Is it? Susan, please play the first video." Susan clicked on the laptop, and suddenly the TV screen showed Sandra in my kitchen, going through my purse and taking money out of my wallet. The date stamp was clear in the corner. It was from 2 weeks ago. Everyone in the room gasped. Sandra's face went red. "That's not what it looks like. I was just borrowing some cash. I was going to pay her back." "Really?" I said. "What about this one?" Susan played another video. This one showed Sandra going through my bedroom dresser, taking out jewelry and putting it in her purse. She was looking around nervously to make sure no one saw. The date stamp showed it was from a month ago. Michael stood up. His face was white. "Sandra, what is this?" Sandra started crying. "I can explain. Your mother was giving those things to me. She said I could have them. She's just forgotten." "I never said that," I said calmly. "But let's see what else I supposedly forgot." "Susan, play the audio." Susan played a recording. Sandra's voice came through clearly. It was the phone conversation I had overheard. Sandra talking about how she just needed to be patient a little longer, about getting me declared incompetent, about putting me in the cheapest nursing home, about selling my house and buying a lake house with the money, about how I was sitting on a gold mine and she deserved a piece of it. The room was completely silent, except for Sandra's recorded voice. Everyone was staring at her. Michael looked like he was going to be sick. My grandchildren looked confused and scared. Betty's mouth was hanging open. Phyllis was shaking her head in disgust. When the recording ended, Michael turned to Sandra. "Tell me this isn't real. Tell me you didn't do this." Sandra was crying harder now. "Michael, I can explain. I was just venting. I didn't mean those things. Your mother is twisting everything." "Twisting everything," I said. "There's more. Show them the next video, Susan. This video showed Sandra on my phone in the kitchen, going through my bank app. She was writing down numbers in a little notebook. She was calculating my account balances. The date stamp showed it was just last week, during one of her visits when she told Michael she was bringing me lunch. Then Susan played another audio recording. This one was Sandra talking to Michael just a few days ago. In it, Sandra was saying, "Your mom is getting worse. Yesterday she didn't even recognize Emma. I really think we need to move quickly on the nursing home. I found one that's affordable and they have availability next month." Michael was staring at Sandra like he didn't know who she was. "You lied to me. You told me Mom didn't recognize Emma. We were just here yesterday and Mom was fine with Emma." "Because I was acting," I said. "I've been pretending to have memory problems because I knew what Sandra was doing and I needed to catch her. I needed all of you to see the truth." Margaret spoke up. "You mean you've been pretending this whole time? There's nothing actually wrong with you?" "Nothing at all. I'm as sharp as I've ever been. Sandra has been stealing from me for 3 years. She's taken thousands of dollars worth of jewelry, cash, and other items. She's been going through my personal documents. She's been planning to have me declared incompetent so she could get control of my assets. And she's been lying to all of you, making you think I was declining so that when she suggested putting me in a home, you would all think it was the right thing to do." Betty was shaking her head. "I can't believe this. Sandra came to me months ago asking if you noticed you declining. I thought she was just being caring." Phyllis said the same thing. "She asked me too. She seemed so concerned, but she was just building a case against you." Michael was still staring at Sandra. "Is this true? Have you been planning this the whole time?" Sandra tried to grab his hand. "Michael, please, you have to understand. We need money. We're drowning in debt. The kids' school tuition, the mortgage, everything. Your mother is sitting in this big house all alone with all this money, and we're struggling. I just thought if we could access some of her assets, it would help our family." "By lying? By stealing from my mother? By trying to have her locked away in a nursing home?" "I wasn't going to lock her away. Those facilities are nice. She would have been taken care of." I laughed. It wasn't a nice laugh. "The brochures you brought today are for the cheapest places you could find. I looked them up. They have 1-star reviews, multiple violations. I've been in nursing homes visiting friends. I know the difference between quality care and warehousing. You were going to stick me in the worst place possible so you could pocket the difference." Susan spoke up. "Mom, show them the rest." I had saved the best for last. Susan pulled up bank statements on the screen. "These are from my accounts. Look at the dates and amounts. Every time something significant went missing from this house, Sandra made a large deposit into her personal account. Not the joint account she shares with Michael, her personal account that Michael doesn't have access to." Michael looked at the screen. His face went from white to red. "You have a secret bank account?" Sandra was trapped. She couldn't deny it anymore. The evidence was right there. "I needed to have something of my own," she said weakly. "Just a little security." "Security you stole from my mother," Michael said. His voice was cold now. "How much did you take?" I had calculated it. Based on what I can document, over $30,000 in the past 3 years. Jewelry, cash, items she sold. Plus, she's been using my credit card for online purchases and having them delivered to her friend's house so Michael wouldn't see. That was news to Michael. "What?" I pulled out credit card statements. Small charges here and there. Clothes, shoes, cosmetics. Nothing big enough to trigger a fraud alert, but it adds up. Another $5,000 over the past 2 years. Michael sat down heavily. He looked devastated. $35,000. You stole $35,000 from my mother."
Sandra was sobbing now. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll pay it back. We'll figure it out. Please, Michael, please don't do this in front of everyone. But I wasn't done. There's one more thing everyone needs to hear. Susan, play the last recording. This was the worst one. This was a recording from just 2 days ago. Sandra on the phone with someone, laughing, saying, "The old lady totally believes she's losing her mind. It's actually hilarious. She puts on this confused act, and I have to pretend to be concerned." Michael is completely buying it. He's already talking about power of attorney. I give it another month before she's out of that house, and we can cash in. The room was deadly silent. My grandchildren were crying. Emma ran over to me and hugged me. "Grandma, I'm so sorry." Michael stood up and looked at Sandra. "Get out." Sandra reached for him. "Michael, please, we can work through this for the kids." "Get out of my mother's house," Michael said. His voice was shaking. "Get out right now." "Where am I supposed to go?" "I don't care. Go to your mother's, go to a hotel, go anywhere but here. We're done." Sandra looked around the room, but she found no sympathy. Everyone was looking at her with disgust. Margaret actually said, "You should be ashamed of yourself." Sandra grabbed her purse and ran out. We heard her car start and speed away. After she left, Michael collapsed onto the couch and put his head in his hands. He was crying. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I thought you were really sick. I was trying to help." I sat down next to him and put my arm around him. "I know, sweetheart. That's what she was counting on. She knew you loved me and you were worried about me. She manipulated that. I should have seen it. I should have known." She was very good at hiding it. She fooled everyone. Susan sat down on his other side. "The important thing is that Mom caught her before any real damage was done. She still has her house. She still has her independence. And now we all know the truth." Betty spoke up. "What are you going to do? Are you going to press charges?" I had thought about this carefully. Yes, I have all the documentation, the videos, the audio recordings, the bank statements. I'm going to report the theft. I want her charged. Michael looked up. "I'll support whatever you decide to do." "What about the kids?" I asked gently. "Emma and Jake?" Michael wiped his eyes. "They'll stay with me. I'm filing for divorce. There's no coming back from this, but the kids don't need to lose their grandmother too. If you're willing, I'd like them to keep seeing you." "Of course," I said. "I love those kids. This isn't their fault." Over the next few weeks, everything unfolded. I filed a police report with all my evidence. The police were actually impressed with how thoroughly I had documented everything. They said it was one of the clearest theft cases they had seen. Sandra was charged with theft and fraud. She ended up pleading guilty to avoid jail time, but she had to pay restitution and do community service. She also had a criminal record now. Michael filed for divorce immediately. It was ugly. Sandra tried to fight for custody of the kids, but Michael had evidence of her criminal behavior and her willingness to abuse an elderly family member. The judge wasn't sympathetic. Michael got primary custody. Sandra got supervised visitation. The house that Sandra had been planning to buy with my money, she lost her current house instead. Michael couldn't afford the mortgage on his own, and Sandra's legal fees wiped out their savings. They had to sell. Michael and the kids moved into an apartment. I offered to help, but Michael said he needed to do it on his own. He did let me help with the kids, though. I pick them up from school sometimes, and they stay with me on weekends. Emma and Jake were confused and hurt at first. They didn't understand why their mom did what she did. I tried to explain it in age-appropriate terms. I told them that sometimes grown-ups make bad choices and there are consequences, but that their mom still loves them, even though she made mistakes. I didn't want them to hate their mother, even though I have every reason to hate her myself. Sandra's reputation in our community was destroyed. Word got around about what she did. People who had known her were shocked. Some of her friends stood by her at first, saying there must be a misunderstanding.
But once they heard the recordings and saw the evidence, most of them disappeared. You can't really defend someone after hearing them laugh about manipulating an elderly woman. Sandra had to move back in with her parents in another town. From what I hear, she got a job at a retail store. She's making minimum wage and living in her childhood bedroom at 50 years old. She sees the kids twice a month for supervised visits at a neutral location. Michael says the visits are awkward. The kids are polite but distant. They're old enough to understand what she did, at least partially. My relationship with Michael is stronger than ever. He feels guilty about believing Sandra's lies, but I don't blame him. She's his wife, or was his wife. Of course he believed her. She was very convincing, and her manipulation was subtle. It happened gradually over years. He tells me all the time how sorry he is, and I tell him all the time that there's nothing to be sorry for. Susan thought what I did was brilliant. She told everyone she knows about it. I'm kind of a legend in her friend group now, the grandma who faked dementia to catch a con artist. She thinks I should write a book. Maybe I will someday. The hardest part, believe it or not, wasn't the acting or the planning or even the confrontation. The hardest part was watching my son's heart break. Michael really loved Sandra. He thought they had a good marriage. Finding out that she was capable of this level of deception and manipulation destroyed something in him. He's more cautious now, more guarded. He has trust issues, and that makes me sad. But he's in therapy, and he's working through it. The kids are doing okay. Kids are resilient. Emma is 13 now, and she understands more than Jake, who's 10. Emma actually told me she was proud of me for catching her mom. She said, "Grandma, you're like a detective." That made me laugh. Jake is more confused. He loves his mom, and he doesn't understand why she did what she did. I just try to be there for both of them and give them stability. People ask me if I feel bad about the deception, about pretending to have dementia, about tricking everyone, including my own son. And the answer is no, I don't feel bad at all. Sandra was stealing from me. She was planning to take my home. She was going to lock me away in a facility and throw away the key. She was using my son's love for me against him. She deserved to be exposed in the most definitive way possible. Could I have handled it differently? Sure. I could have installed security cameras and shown Michael the evidence privately. But here's the thing. Sandra was very good at manipulation. If I had confronted her privately or just shown Michael, she would have found a way to explain it away. She would have cried and apologized and promised to do better. She would have said she was just borrowing things, that it was a misunderstanding, that I was exaggerating. And Michael, who loved her, might have believed her, or at least wanted to believe her. By doing it the way I did, in front of witnesses, with undeniable evidence, there was no room for manipulation. There was no way for her to spin it or make excuses. Everyone saw exactly who she was. The recordings spoke for themselves. Her own words condemned her. And that's what needed to happen. I also needed to protect myself legally. If Sandra had succeeded in getting me declared incompetent, it would have been very hard to undo. Once you're in the system as someone with dementia, once you're in a facility, it's incredibly difficult to prove you're actually competent. I could have ended up stuck in a nursing home, unable to convince anyone that I was fine. By gathering evidence the way I did, I protected my own future. And honestly, part of me wanted Sandra to feel what I felt. I wanted her to experience that moment of complete exposure, that moment when all your secrets come to light and everyone you know sees the truth about you. She had made me feel violated and vulnerable and afraid in my own home. She had stolen from me. She had planned to take everything from me.
She deserved to face consequences that matched her actions. Some people in the community thought I went too far. There were a few folks who said I should have been more forgiving, that Sandra was clearly struggling and maybe needed help rather than punishment. But those people didn't have someone steal from them. They didn't have someone plan to institutionalize them against their will. They didn't have someone manipulate their own child. It's easy to be forgiving when it's not your life being destroyed.
Most people supported what I did, though, especially women my age. They understood. They've seen what happens to elderly people when family members decide they're inconvenient. They've seen people warehoused in facilities against their will. They've seen estates stolen by greedy relatives. What I did resonated with them because it's their worst fear. And I showed that you don't have to be a victim, that you can fight back, that you can protect yourself. I still live in my house, the same house Robert and I bought 45 years ago, the house where I raised my children, the house that Sandra wanted to steal from me. I'm still independent. I still drive. I still take care of myself. I volunteer at the hospital twice a week. I'm part of a book club. I play bridge with friends. I babysit my grandkids. I have a good life, a life that almost got taken away from me. I think about what would have happened if I hadn't overheard that phone conversation, if I had just believed Sandra's narrative that I was declining, if I had let her convince me that I needed to be in a facility. I would have lost everything: my home, my independence, my dignity. I would have been stuck in some nursing home, maybe for the rest of my life, while Sandra sold my house and spent my money. That thought still makes me angry. The sheer audacity of what she was trying to do, the cruelty of it. I wasn't sick. I wasn't incompetent. I was just inconvenient to her plans. I was sitting on assets she wanted, so she decided to manufacture a reason to get rid of me. That's not just theft. That's a special kind of evil. I'm 71 years old now. This all happened about 3 years ago when I was 68. I have a lot of good years left, God willing, years I wouldn't have had if Sandra had succeeded. I would have wasted away in some facility, forgotten and alone, while she lived in my house or sold it for profit. Instead, I'm here, still in my home, still with my family, still living my life on my own terms. Michael is dating someone new now, a nice woman named Jennifer who teaches at the local elementary school. She's kind and genuine, and she treats me with respect. She doesn't ask about my finances or my house. She just seems to genuinely enjoy spending time with our family. Michael is taking things slow, which I think is wise, but I'm hopeful for him. He deserves happiness after everything Sandra put him through. The kids have adjusted. They're in therapy, which has helped. They understand better now what their mother did and why it was wrong. They still see her, but they're not close like they used to be. Trust is hard to rebuild, especially with children. Sandra broke their trust along with everyone else's. As for Sandra, I don't know much about her life now, and I don't care to know. I heard through the grapevine that she's engaged to some man she met online. I feel sorry for him. He has no idea what he's getting into. But that's not my problem anymore. Sandra is out of my life, and that's exactly where she belongs. People sometimes ask me if I would ever forgive her, if enough time has passed, if she's paid her debt to society. And my answer is always the same: no. Some things are unforgivable. What she did wasn't a mistake
or an error in judgment. It was calculated. It was planned. It went on for years. She looked me in the eye and lied to me repeatedly. She used my son. She was willing to institutionalize me against my will. You don't forgive that. You don't forget that.
I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought. Planning that whole operation, keeping up the act for months, staying calm during the confrontation, that took strength I didn't know I had. I'm proud of myself for that. I could have been a victim. I could have let Sandra win, but I didn't. I fought back in a way that was clever and effective and completely justified. So that's my story. That's how I pretended to have dementia to expose my gold digger daughter-in-law who was trying to steal my house and my life. That's how I caught her in the most undeniable way possible. That's how I protected myself and my family from a con artist who had infiltrated our lives. And if you're in a similar situation, if someone is trying to take advantage of you, especially if you're older, please know that you have options. You don't have to be a victim. You can fight back. Document everything, gather evidence, be smarter than they are, and don't let anyone tell you that you're too old or too confused to know what's happening to you. Trust your instincts, protect yourself, and don't be afraid to expose the truth, no matter how ugly it is. Because at the end of the day, the truth matters. Justice matters, and people who prey on the elderly need to face consequences. What Sandra did to me, she's probably done to others or will do to others. By exposing her and making sure she faced legal consequences, maybe I prevented her from doing this to someone else, someone who might not have been able to fight back the way I did. I'm grateful every day for my home, my independence, and my family. I'm grateful that I trusted my instincts and didn't let Sandra gaslight me into thinking I was really declining. I'm grateful for my daughter Susan, who supported me through the whole thing. I'm grateful for my son Michael, who once he saw the truth, stood by me completely. And I'm grateful for my grandchildren, who remind me every day why it was worth fighting for my life and my future. Hit subscribe if you want to hear more true stories like this one.